Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 27th SF Indie Fest. My name is Sarah Marie Flores. I'm the programmer here for the festival. The festival will be running February 6th through 18th at the historic Roxy Theater in San Francisco, as well as in your computer or television screens at home. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. A huge welcome to our genre short film block filmmakers. We're so excited to have you all here. We'd love to just start off by, hearing from the filmmakers. Who are you? What did you do? Why did you do it? And why is this so special to you? And I'm going to kick it over to Oscar. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. My name is Oscar Kilala. I'm the director and writer of Stains, which short horror film, of course. And I made this film because I just love horror films in general, and I had made like a drama right beforehand. And I kind of I wanted to go back to making another horror film. So that's kind of the origins of this film.
It was very fun. Thank you so much for joining us, Oscar.
Thank you.
Now let's jump over to Kelly. Please introduce yourself. Tell us your film, what your role was, and why it came together for you.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. My name is Kelly. I actually am part of a brother-sister writing team. So me and my older brother wrote this together, and then he directed, and then I wrote myself as the lead. I got the part. I finagled that for myself. But the reason why our topic is very like more existential horror, and growing up, we were both very aware of the passage of time and very existential. And so taking a concept with transience and putting a time clock on that, like, in 30 days this is all going to be over, or you're never going to see this person again. What choices do you make with that knowledge? Do you still live freely, and can you find meaning when you know everything's going to end?
It's very special. Thank you so much, Kelly, for joining us. Now let's jump over to Bree. Bree, welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Hey, everyone. My name is Bree, full name Brianna. I'm the director and cinematographer of House of the Monster. And I also co-wrote House of the Monster. My co-writers and we worked together in film, and we just had a shared love for like cult classic kind of horror movies, and especially like Troma era kind of horror movies. And that's what we kind of wanted to go for. We were in Actually, the in House of the Monster was started by a conversation we had after watching the Barbie movie. Um, and we decided like, hey, we could make something like this. And I just so happened to have a 1977 Super 8 camera that we wanted to kind of tinker with. So yeah, just kind of wanted to combine all of our passions of analog filmmaking and classic horror.
That's awesome. Also, I think maybe the most surprising thing ever that film as like dark and inventive as yours could have drawn such auspices from the Barbie movie. That's such a fun tidbit. Thank you for sharing. Now let's come over to Chris. Please introduce yourself and your film and what you did and why you did it.
Yeah, I'm Chris Durr. I'm the writer-director of Others. I found myself at the beginning of 2023 thinking a lot about how we misunderstand and misperceive each other. And I had this encounter back in 2009 that what I was just thinking about with the weather balloon that was flying over the country. And I thought it was an interesting parallel to try to sugarcoat a social message with the science fiction element and kind of elevate the genre that way. So that's what triggered the writing. And yeah, it's a proof of concept for a feature film. So ultimately, that's the end goal. We're on draft 4. So it was a great beginning to a marathon I'm still running.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And now, Diego, I mean, it's so nice to see your face unencumbered by all of the things that Chris put you through. Just kidding, of course. But welcome. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you connected with the film.
Hi, thank you, Sarah. Hi, my name is Diego Rivera Rodriguez, and I was the actor Mateo and others. And no, it's been a really fun blast. I mean, doing this and kind of brings back a bunch of memories. Um, but I think this came at an important time in my life, just because I grew up in Kansas, and as Chris knows, you know, you grow up in Kansas, and you're maybe like one of like 5 or 6, you know, Mexicans in your class or whatever. So like, I feel like doing a film that kind of shines a light on like what is it like to, you know, not really fit in with either side. You know, you get that a lot, but like, I don't know, it's really special to me. And I think anyone who grew up in the Midwest can like it'll hit a certain part in their heart, you know. But yeah, thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Let's jump back over to Oscar. Oscar, I'd like to dig in a little bit more with Stains and like really have you kind of talk about how you came up with this. I know that you said you wanted to explore horror, but like there's so much more about this, like exploring a serial killer with OCD. Like, how did that really come to you? Like, what were your inspirations and what were your tactics for executing that on screen?
Yeah, so for Stains, it was at least the someone like pretty much scrubbing like their skin off was pretty much was a script was a screenplay that I wrote back in high school of someone who's just in their house just cleaning everything, and then he ends up just going in the shower and just pretty much skinning himself alive. And I had wrote that back in high school, and then I kind of wanted to come back to it again, but then I just recently watched like American Psycho and Mandy and Creepshow, and then I kind of put all those things together kind of into one thing. So I'm like, okay, how about a serial killer who has OCD? And then if he gets a stain on him, it doesn't come off. So then he just pretty much rips his skin off by trying to clean off the stain. Yeah.
Were there challenges to like working with your talent in that regard, like to help them get into that mindset?
Mindset. No, not really. The talent are all. I made this back in college last year, and they were all my dorm friends. So then they kind of knew what type of weird stuff that I liked. So then they were like, okay, they were full on like, okay, we're down to make something crazy and kind of like really surrealist and weird.
Oh, well, that's so fun. Congratulations. Thank
Yeah,
you again.
thank you.
Kelly, I would love to kind of dig a little bit deeper, right? Like I think being a writer, but also being your lead actress, like what was that relationship like between you and David? Because there's so much of this push and pull, especially when you're working with siblings, where you can write the thing and you understand it, but then when you're kind of in front of the camera, you're at the whim of your director in many ways. So like what was that relationship like for you and David, and how did you kind of keep your characters like North Star going throughout that relationship in your performance?
Yeah, you know, we're always asked, like, how do you guys write together as siblings? Don't you guys fight or something? But we actually grew up Navy kids, so we moved around every couple of years. We would spend long summers where we wouldn't know anyone, and he's about 4.5 years older than me, so he was forced to play with his little sister. But the way we would play was very like director, like he would set a scene and then he would like tell me what my arc is. And so we've been doing this ever since we were kids. So it was so natural and just felt so right when we finally got to do our like debut moment, do this short film together. And you know that since it's like we know each other so well, it's like playing taboo with somebody that you know really well, where you got to get a result really quick, and maybe it doesn't call for, oh, we need. I remember one time he was like, you know what, just deliver that line as if you're hungover, because he's seen me when I've been hungover, and so my character wasn't, but it just got that delivery that we needed in that moment. And otherwise, just for the North Star side of that question, we had such a clear vision together since we had toiled in the trenches for so long before even stepping foot on the stage, you know, that at that point it was all just about like staying present and just listening, and then trusting him so fully that whatever shaping he had to do, I would give it all to him. Like he's just the boy genius. So yeah.
Well, that's fun. And how was this with working with your other castmates? Did they bring in new dynamics to your dynamic that like helped enhance the experience and definitely like what we saw on screen? And how was it when you went from like I don't know if the term would be like co-inhabitant to co-inhabitant as you were filming?
So what was the co-inhabitant question?
Like how was that dynamic? I'm describing your castmates as like being your co-inhabitants within the world of the story.
Yeah, well, just about, the relationship with them, I actually met the French girl. She's not French. She's actually completely, born and raised in LA. But yeah, I met her in a acting class, and I was just like, this girl's a star. We had a great chemistry. We had like no time to film with her, so she just like picked up the slack of everything. All the sins of the other days had like fallen down upon the final like 2 hours of filming, and she delivered for us. But yeah, just as to, I mean, the characters we had actually rehearsed before with them, so we were trying to be very rehearse heavy so we could just fly and dance and have fun on set. And something that we did too is anytime I think Paul Thomas Anderson said something like this, where like he rewrites sometimes on set if something sounds wrong coming out of someone's mouth, then we're going to pivot it to be like, what's going to be more natural coming out of your mouth. So that's something that we also did in the rehearsal process to try and like fine tune it to what is most natural and also achieving what message we're trying to impart.
Oh, that's awesome. It comes across in such a special way. So thank you so much. So great to hear.
Thanks.
Bree, I would love to start off by just talking with you about working on film. Like, how was that for you? Have you worked with film a lot? I think it enhances the world of the story that you're telling so beautifully. Can you just talk about working with a physical, tactile medium like that?
Yeah, working with film, we were like a really small budget film like production. So working with film ate up most of any of the money that we had going towards this film, but it was just something that we didn't really want to waver on. Uh, I mean, first of all, like we just ended up really loving the look. I shot on Super 8 before. I've shot ghost horror movies before, and it was just a medium that I really love. I just love how small it is. I love how you can tidy in small spaces you can get with it, and I just love like the motion and even like especially all the graininess. It kind of hides a lot of the errors, especially with like all of the makeup that we did, and also just kind of adds to like the eerie ambiance. Um, it was very difficult knowing that like we only have X amount of rolls of like little cartridges of 3 minutes at a time, and we're trying to squeeze all of our filming within 2 days using as much daylight as possible, and trying not to eat up too many rolls to like do too many takes over and over again. So it just required a lot of like doing like and miming what
Mm-hmm.
we're going to do beforehand. And we had no backup, so we just kind of had to roll with what we got. And that was just a really, really fun process. In the moment, added so much stress that we were like cursing ourselves. Why did we decide to do this? Why didn't we bring another camera to, have a backup? But I think ultimately that kind of stress into our film and just kind of made it better, especially made it better with what we had.
Yeah, it certainly does. I want to somehow like send this movie to John Waters. I just feel like he would be so obsessed with this like turn on like femme forward cultishness and like punishing like an obvious like predator. It's super rad. Can you just talk about like what it was like? I mean, obviously the film aspect of it did put constraints, but it just seems like you guys had so much fun making this. Like, what was that experience like for you and your castmates?
First of all, thank you so much for mentioning John Waters. He is like one of my absolute icons of all time. So that's really nice that you could see that translated through. But yeah, I guess we did have like so much fun with this production. Everyone who was involved, so with my coworkers or my co-writers, Dominic Marino and Luke Wheaton, we were friends beforehand. Everyone that we had on our set were our either friends or family members who we all just got together for one weekend to just kind of like buckle down and get it done. It was just kind of outside of like the stress of us three trying to like navigate everything. It really was like a party environment outside of filming. Everyone was just kind of like hanging out, drinking beer and eating pizza, hanging out. We were in like a abandoned building lot in downtown Los Angeles that everyone was just kind of like mixing and mingling with like our like each other's like friends that they've never met before. So yeah, we just tried to like for actors and for everyone helping, just try to like keep it as light and easy as possible while we kept on like every single one of the little stresses.
Yeah.
I probably
Well,
have gray
that's
hairs
great.
from that weekend, but ultimately
I
I don't
mean,
regret any moments of it.
it looked it just looks like you had so much fun. Like I could just imagine being there with you because like to me, I think that's one of the more special things about filmmaking. And definitely the way that I came up is just like friends making cool, crazy shit, like and like leaving our abandoned behind. But like you actually got to do that, but also make something that just looks
Mhm.
amazing and like really executed that vision. So it's great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Chris, I would love to talk more about others and just kind of the visual language that you use. I mean, your production is quite ambitious. You cover a lot of ground. You have a lot of locations that you're going to, but just like the look and the tone of your camera work is impeccable. I love the coloring. Like, can you just talk about how you approached um others in a visual manner?
Yeah, thank you. It's really a background from cinematography that you're probably seeing coming through. While we were writing, I was able to scout, all throughout that summer during writer's block moments or whatever. And I always tell directors when I'm servicing their projects that the location is about half of the cinematography. I hate to admit it, but it's totally true. And a lot of those locations really lended itself, like the kind of vanishing point with the trees, with the light rolling across it, became a big effect for the presence of the entity and our narrator. Um, so the approach we took was because I knew better than to DP my own projects, especially my first narrative directed work. So my close friend Evan Wunsch, he's a documentary cinematographer and just a really close friend, somebody that I could jam with and kind of step outside the noise that a complicated production, which unfortunately I chose a complicated one. It wasn't as much of a party as Bree as Bree's film, but it was a lot of fun because all of our energy was being matched with something to focus on. And yeah, I couldn't be happier with how it came out for the resources we have. And it was just great to develop a feature alongside the process and the post
Mhm.
process of doing the short. I thought that was a fun
Yeah,
part of the
I
process.
mean, it's really cool. I mean, I'll say like the bike scene just sticks with me from this film. There's something, Diego, for you, like you're just like you're floating through this space in such a magical way. And in your introduction, you already talked about kind of what it's like, being a Mexican dude growing up in a place like Kansas. Like, what was it like for you embodying? Uh, sorry, I had his name, Mateo, right? That was your character's name. Like, how did you get into Mateo's shoes and like really feel like you were doing this character justice, or did it feel very natural for you?
It was definitely a mix. I think working with Chris was really just such a blast. I mean, like he says he comes from a cinematography background, but I mean he's really good at like pushing the correct buttons. And there would be times where like we would kind of be like before seeing like the bike where he would just let me like play, which felt really good to me because when it looks that good, it's already kind of inspiring. But like sometimes there's a pressure, like, okay, you got to move to the next shot. But he would let me play, and like I remember like that first day with the bike, he was, I don't, it'd been a while since I've ridden a bike, honestly, and so it was a little shaky, at first. But he just was like, you just go on a ride, like go cruise around, like listen to some music. This is what I think it sounds like, you know what I mean? And like the feel. And he gave me this song. It was a Modest Mouse song, and funny it was our first sort of like since the audition process that we had really like connected. And he gave me this Modest Mouse song, and it was really funny because it was also at the same time like I had been listening to that song on repeat just by chance, and so as soon as that happened, it just felt like everything kind of fell into place, and
You guys are inside of each other's heads even
yeah,
before you realized it.
Well, Diego is
There's
awesome
something in the
because
air.
he comes from that theater background where we'd block rehearsal the whole thing, and his other lead was also theatrically trained. So it was really great to have actors willing to do that block rehearsal work where you really
Hmm.
strip out shots you don't need, find the moments that hit, And you could give Diego an emotional anchor and like he said, let him play. And then we would find it, take 1, 2, or 3. So it was a lot of fun to work like that.
That's so awesome. I mean, it really pays off. Diego, your performance is phenomenal. I'm so glad to get to share this with everybody and with our audience members. That's all the time we have today for our Q&A, but so much gratitude to our filmmakers for creating this art and sharing it with us, and to our audience for giving us money and attention and showing up and experiencing this with us. So thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.